Today, the international arbitrage is clearly being shot on the beach. Today we're going to talk or continue discussing international private investment funds being used to raise less than $100 million, for example, $30 million from U.S. investors. The whole point of using a regulated private investment fund where the owner-manager could either hire an existing regulated fund manager to be the fund manager of their fund, or they can set it up themselves. The reason for having international private investment fund is so that when it comes time to do two things: one, actually receive money from the investors, U.S. investors. Many of them have their funds held in private banks. They have trusts, of which private banks are the trustees. Private banks and banks in the U.S., many of them do not have offices or personnel or expertise or outside on the ground in many jurisdictions outside of the United States. And so therefore, the reason for having, one of the main reasons for having a regulated private investment fund is so that when it comes time, let's say you've convinced your potential investor of the economics of the project and they're ready to invest, what you don't want to happen is the investors' advisors will point out that there's a lot of risk in investing in a non-regulated structure. That's if you don't have a regulated investment fund set up. The advisors will advise against it, but more importantly, the trustees' compliance department will probably advise or delay. At worst, they will block it. At least they will certainly delay the transaction, the actual investment, because they will want to do a lot of compliance and a lot of compliance and review of your circumstances as a family-owned business or an owner-managed business. And if you're not using a regulated private investment fund, then this is basically going to be either a delay, or it will cause a lot of friction and potentially delay or potentially stop your receiving of investment. And it's pretty much the same for all high net worth persons who have their assets and their accumulated wealth and banking at a private bank in the US. If you're talking to persons that don't have their funds in a regulated environment, either in a trust or a private bank, and these are very wealthy persons, that's actually a highly unusual thing, because that's what most wealthy people do. And if you are lucky enough to find investors who don't have their money in regulated environments, then the other problem that you're going to have is receiving actually funds from unregulated source of funds, and that's going to cause you, with your bank, it's going to cause you a whole range of compliance problems. So to remove friction, to increase the ability to use banks, especially internationally, to give investors confidence and to increase the amount or the perception of investor protection, to lower the cost of your capital. That's another thing that we talked about, that actually using a regulated private investment fund can actually even lower your cost of capital, because the perceived amount of risk is much, much less. And so these are the reasons why you should consider having a private investment fund. We will expand on this in another video shortly.